Hello and welcome to a brand new series, TruckWorld TV. This is where Rob and myself are going to be based here every week at Junction 38 or Tuve Truck Services, and we're going to look at all aspects within the commercial vehicle industry.
That's right, each week we've got some exclusive road tests for you, some fantastic behind-the-scenes factory visits. We'll also be looking at new technologies and also addressing some of the gripes, shall we say, that truck drivers have.
They don't have gripes, do they?
There's one or two that we've come across. Now, I love anything on wheels. I love my trucks, but I've got to be honest, hold my hands up, I'm a bit of a car man first and foremost.
No, you're not. You're a lot of a car man.
Well, I'm trying to hang out with you to get a bit of kudos, but joking aside, you're commercial vehicles through and through, aren't you?
That's all I've ever done, mate. Passed my test at 21, which is probably about just under 15 years ago.
I think there was a war on, actually. I had to drive with the lights off for the enemy bombers.
All right, I'll give you, all right, over 15 years then. Let's put it that way.
But you've probably seen, maybe not seen and done it all, but you've done a heck of a lot.
Yeah, I've not done it all. Don't want to do it all yet. But yeah, seen a lot in the commercial. Seen a lot over the last 30 years. And, I gave it away then. Seen a lot over the last 30 years in the commercial vehicle industry anyway.
Well, to kick us off this week, we've got two international features for you. Because Tim, first of all, you packed your suntan oil, didn't you, and went down south?
I think this week I got the right side of the straw and got the sunshine, and we went actually to Lyon to watch Renault launch a whole new range of trucks. Really very, very spectacular. People don't often get the chance to see what goes on behind the scenes, and certainly on this one, well worth watching.
And I went the other way. I went north.
A long way north, mate.
Very north, actually up to Sweden, to Tuve, and that's where Volvo have their factory that builds the FM and FH range of trucks. Although the Tuve plant was commissioned in 1982, it uses state-of-the-art production line techniques to manufacture around 20,000 trucks a year. And that's made up of around 11,500 FH models and 8,500 FM models. The factory also produces truck assemble kits, which are shipped out and assembled in other plants around the world. All that adds up to a truck being made about every 4.5 minutes. Now, the flagship model they produce at this factory is the FH16 Globetrotter XL. That's quite impressive, isn't it? Well, all right, there's a little bit of work to do before this hits the road, but this is how all the trucks start their life, as nearly 8,000 kilograms of rolled steel. The first stage of the process is to take that rolled steel and produce the main chassis beams by a series of precision cutting and bending processes. Now, although these look like generic chassis members, they're already specific to a customer's order. The actual length, the number of holes punched in, the placement of the cutouts, and it's at this stage that they also get the all-important VIN number. From here, the beams are formed into shape, powder-coated with a solvent-free process, and are then taken by automated robotic trucks to the first of the main assembly stations. Now, not that the painting process isn't interesting, but for me, this is the real fun stuff, where all the bits and pieces start to get bolted onto the chassis frames. You can really see the trucks coming alive. I think I better get out of the way, actually, otherwise I'm going to get bolted to it. It's the shirt that does it. As with many production line processes, each stage of the assembly is carefully timed to make sure that production remains efficient and doesn't cause issues further down the line. That means the staff on each section have to work as a complete team to get the job completed correctly. Well, Nicholas, it looks very high-pressured here with the countdown timer and everyone sort of working like mad around the chassis, but I guess a lot of thought has gone into actually so that it runs smoothly.
Yeah, but almost every day and every week we manage it. So at this part we almost don't have any stoppage time at all.
And are you constantly trying to work to get the time shorter and shorter?
If I have lost 1 or 2 minutes, I can't work it. It's lost time.
So the secret is not to lose it in the first place?
Absolutely, right from the beginning.
And you've got a lot of people here working sort of for you. Are you happy with the team?
Yes, they're best. Absolutely.
Up until now, the chassis has actually been upside down, but here it's flipped through 180 degrees in preparation for the axles and drivetrain assembly to be bolted into place. Well, now things are really starting to come together. The chassis has all been prepped and cabled up. It's time for the big stuff to go on. The axles, the suspension, and it's not till you get this close up you realise just how big everything is. I mean, look at those for brake discs. Years ago I used to change the brakes on my old Mark 1 Fiesta, but I think I'd give those a miss.
My part is I dock the chassis on the axles, so we get them from above and make them fit accordingly to the axles.
Is it quite a stressful job? I mean, what sort of problems can you face?
It's partly it's a construction. It's around centimeters to make it fit, and that's not always the case. And in that case, we have to use our muscles and brains to make it fit. So that's one part, and partly on other cars it's also the time. The easiest cars we have plenty of time over, but on the heavier cars, the ones who are going to load a lot of weight or something like that, we have seconds over, so we have a tight schedule.
And how much are you relying on your teammates?
100%. In this part, you have to work together on every car, because if I do something, they can't do their thing unless I'm done with my thing, and because of that, you have to work together really good.
Well, you can see the second part of my visit to Tuve and the Volvo factory later on in the show, but now we're going the other way around the globe. We're going down south for Tim's trip to Lyon, to a Renault launch that the press said was probably the most spectacular event they've ever seen in truck launch history.
Well, they said that because it probably was. It was very, very spectacular indeed. I've seen a lot of launches in my time, and I've got to admit this is one of the best. But you can understand it. Renault weren't just launching one model, they were launching a whole new range. The amount of time and effort that's spent on this, let alone money, suggests to me this must be one of the trucks to see in 2013. Using an incredible mix of music, lighting and immense stage setup, it was something more reminiscent of an epic music event rather than a commercial vehicle launch. It soon became apparent why the set was so big, because it was actually covering up many of the new vehicles for a really flamboyant reveal that absolutely wowed the 5,000 strong audience. What a mind-blowing show, absolutely phenomenal. But it's not just one model they're launching, it's actually a whole new range. There's the long-haul T-Cab, the largest vehicle in the lineup. The K&C range for the construction industry. And the new vehicles in the D or distribution lineup. And all have the same design flair that we have come to expect from this French marque, as well as great attention to detail, as we can see on this T-range display model. Obviously this is a split cab setup, and this is the top of the range cab. We've got the flat floor and the highest roof possible. But let's have a look at some of the driver comforts that you're going to get in here. First of all, you have a nice fridge available for the driver here. Putting that away. Then the bottom bunk you can pull out ever so slightly, gives you an extra 3 or 4 inches, making it a lot more comfortable. And on top bunk you can actually extend it out, again good for storage. All in all, great attention to detail. Although the majority of trucks we see on our roads are the long-haul models and the smaller D delivery vehicles, a key area for Renault are the vehicles that spend much of their time driving off the roads. Now, most of us are familiar with construction vehicles. Well, that's not enough for Renault, for they've got construction and then they've got heavy construction. Built to tackle the harshest of environments, these Euro 6 beasts range in power from 380 to 520 horsepower and have a super tough drivetrain to make sure deliveries are made whatever the conditions. Here I have with me Gino Costa, the Managing Director of Renault Trucks in the UK. Gino, an Italian selling a French product in England, the UK. How did that happen?
Well, I think it probably comes from my professional career. I've been spending 34 years now around the world selling trucks, basically. Today we have the launch of this fantastic range, but it's a great time also for UK market, according to me, because it's a very dynamic market. It's a very dynamic economy. So it is definitely ahead in the European economical trends, and it is moving forward.
You must be proud. I mean, what do you think is going to have the most impact on the UK market in your product lineup?
Oh yes, I am extremely proud. I am extremely proud because it comes from a long history, 119 years of history of this brand, but with a very, very new technology today. And I think that it furtherly enhances what is already, I think, renowned as a strong point of Renault trucks, which is the fuel efficiency. It is this technology, this project, is terribly focused on fuel efficiency, on aerodynamics, and I think that is extremely important for UK professional haulers who are so tight in their cost and results, of course. So every single liter, even better than gallon, liter of fuel has a massive impact on their results.
Yeah, and you've got a whole, not just one vehicle, but a whole range. It must be a challenge to the network. Is the dealer network ready for it?
I think it is going to be ready, but it will be a big, big challenge, as you said, for us to prepare them, prepare ourselves, first of all, to prepare our network, and for them to really be able to exploit the values of this network, to make the customers on board on these new technologies, on these new values, on this new style as well.
Our first look at the new Renaults here in Lyon are very, very impressive, but in the end, only time will tell how they fare out in the field. Having said that, they shouldn't have too many problems. As you can see behind me, they've got a great old heritage of building commercial vehicles.
Tim, that looked, the opening looked absolutely incredible, like an Olympic Games.
Well, it was along those sort of scales, unbelievable. And as you say, typically French, very creative, very different, and I really enjoyed it. The opening sequence went on for over an hour.
No, looked very, very spectacular. We can find out if the truck itself is spectacular to drive next week, because we sucked in behind the wheel for the first of our road tests. I'm going to take a quick break now, but when we come back, we've got the second part of my Volvo factory visit, and also we've been chatting to some of the drivers here, getting their views on a few points, and they don't mince their words, do they?
We picked some good people for it, because certainly they don't miss the words, and they've got some really good views, and they're quite right as well.
Yeah, we'll see you in a bit.
Hello, welcome back to our brand new series, TruckWorld TV.
Now, later on in the show, we'll be getting the views of some of the drivers here at Tuve, because we put a question to them. How long would the country survive without HGVs?
Not very long, I don't think.
They were quite forthright with their answers, but before that, it's time to go back to Sweden to the Tuve Volvo plant to see the second part of our factory visit. Now, in this truck factory, there's quite a few things you'd expect to find in a truck factory. We've got forklifts, pallets, engineering paraphernalia. But what you wouldn't expect is an oasis. With around 1,800 staff being employed at the factory, you can imagine that adds up to a considerable amount of work pressure. But here, in the middle of the plant, is an oasis designed to provide a totally calming and relaxing environment for the staff to enjoy. Apparently, the turtles and fish like it too. This really is such a relaxing space, and it's kind of an oddity in the engineering world. So unusual, in fact, that recently a Japanese television crew flew over just to do a feature on the garden. They weren't interested in the truck building part, but we are interested in that bit, so back to work. Now, the engines and gearboxes for the trucks are delivered daily to the factory from other Volvo centres in Sweden. Once they arrive at Tuve, they're dressed and finished in line with the customer's order specification. Now, what about this for an engine? 13 litre straight six turbocharged diesel. It's an absolute beast. And they make these in 11, 13 and 16 litre forms. And the top spec one has got 750 horsepower. And they're statistics any supercar would be proud of. With the engine and gearbox fitted together, the whole unit is then lowered into its chassis assembly. Now, although these units are massive, it's still a precision operation, with the workers only having about 8mm of clearance to work with on either side of the engine. Now, if there's anyone watching who's still in some doubt as to what we're building here, well, this should clear it up. It is, of course, a truck, and this is the big bit where the cab gets mounted to the chassis. Now, the cabs are actually made in Umeå in northern Sweden, but from the minute the customer order's processed, they already know which cab is going to fit which chassis here on the production line. With the whole assembly line constantly moving forward, surely this is a very tricky stage.
It looks difficult, but it's not that difficult at all because we have a synchronization part. Because when we get the cabin into the zone, then we can see that then we just follows the chassis.
And is it very easy to connect up in terms of hoses and electrics?
Easier than the old one, yeah. Back in the old one, it was all together, connected into one. Now in the new one, they put the cables on the left side and the hoses on the right. It makes it much easier for us to just separate it all.
With the cab in place, the trucks get their wheels using special jacks, and after the nuts are placed by hand, machines that tighten multiple wheel nuts in a single stage do the rest. From here, the truck is connected to a complex computer diagnostic station for a full systems and emissions check before being driven onto a rolling road bay for a full running and braking test. Once the all clear is given, the trucks drive out to the parking area, ready for delivery to a customer somewhere around the world. So there you have it, by the magic of television, one F816 Globetrotter XL built in just a few minutes, and it's tried, tested, ready for the road.
Oh, don't worry you Volvo fans, we've actually got a road test on the Volvo FH later on in the series. Now, just off at a tangent slightly, with 3/4 of all the goods delivered in the UK on road transport, i.e. on commercial vehicles, then it begged the question to us is, what would happen if commercial vehicles were suddenly scrapped?
You've not had a tip-off about some legislation, have you?
No, but it makes you think about it, because I think we're undervalued. And yeah, that's what we've got to look at.
3/4.
Yeah, exactly, that's it. And we've seen it with things like the fuel strikes, things like that, that it won't take long. I don't think literally it would be days rather than weeks before the whole country would grind, and yet we go on in the background and we're not pretty well valued, I don't think.
No, I can remember the fuel strike, was it 8, 9 years ago? I remember being stuck on the motorway, and then you kind of think, yeah, they've got a point.
Exactly, that's it.
I think it would be fairly quick, but we put that same question to some of the drivers here at Tuve, and here's what they had to say.
About 2 days, I think, because everything's delivered by trucks, and if the trucks stop for any reason, for a fuel crisis or anything like that, There'll be panic buying in all your supermarkets. They'll be wiped out within 2 days, and the country just comes to a standstill.
At the moment, with everything the way it is, probably not very long. I mean, you look at the amount of wagons that are out there. You can drive for 20 minutes down the motorway and you can pass probably well over 100 trucks going in both directions. So I mean, I'd say probably a matter of months.
Well, you look, the last time we had the strikes and all that, and the go-slows, and within 2 days they brought it to its knees. And I think, you know, without drivers, they say, oh, we'll take it on trains, but I think without drivers you haven't got a chance. And that's my opinion on it anyways.
But a day, 2 days max, not long at all.
How long do you think the UK would last without trucks and truck driving?
Wouldn't, because everything goes by truck. Your milk to the supermarket, your newspapers, everything moves by road. Because the public transport system, forget it is right.
General public probably see us as a nuisance, to be honest. They just don't realise that almost everything they've got, eat, drive, comes from a lorry. They're blind to that fact. Joe Public should actually be, to me, when they're getting trained up in a car, there should be a bit more awareness in the larger lorry for people to understand speeds, how they move, and it would make the whole driving safer. You know what I mean? It would, if they had that knowledge. You go around the roundabout, they try and come up the inside, they don't realise you need that space. And because they don't realise, they get upset. If more people are a bit more aware, everybody would be happy, and it'd be a great big happy world.
I think there's no doubt about it, the country would grind to a halt pretty quickly. And from a car driver's point of view, I think an appeal to all car drivers out there, next time you're having a moan about how many trucks are on the road, just think they are there for a reason.
I've just been having to think about this. Actually, all your car drivers, the cars get delivered by trucks as well.
Yeah,
and
all right.
all the parts, all the service items.
Yeah, all right, we get the point.
In fact, you'd not be on the road without us.
We get the point. Well, that is it for this week, but we'll be back next week. But in the meantime, we do have a website you can have a look at.
Yeah, that's truckworldtv.co.uk. We'd also get all the latest news and features, and you get the opportunity to win a jacket from Isuzu.
We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.